At first glance, Jon Turner looks like your average cattle rancher. He dresses like one, he acts like one, and he sounds like one. But looks can be deceiving.
I'm Jon Turner, president of Belgrade State Bank, and also a farmer.
Well, this isn't your typical combination, so we might wonder how a bank president becomes a cattle rancher, or vice versa.
My grandfather started the cattle business, and I worked for him when I was a kid. Growing up in high school, I fed the cows, and we put up hay all summer and brush hogged, and we did that kind of thing. That kind of started me in the cattle business and got me hooked. The bank was started in 1906, and my family, on both my grandmother's and my grandfather's Turner's side, were involved in the banking business at that time. And my dad come along in the bank in the mid-50s, and he ran the bank until just a few years ago when he passed away. So as I went to work at the bank, I was only going to work part-time when it started. I was going to go work a few days a week and then farm on the side. I soon figured out that I needed to work full-time at the bank, and it evolved into being a teller, going on then being a loan officer, making loans, and going on to be, vice president, executive vice president, and then now currently president and CEO. So in my day-to-day job now is to kind of just see to make things run correctly. I check with the loan officers, see if they need any help with a loan. I look at the finances. So that's pretty well what we do on the banking side.
Family plays a big role in everything he does, whether it's at the bank or on the farm.
I have my wife, Mary Ann, who helps a lot on the farm. She does quite a bit of feeding and stuff. Two sons, Matthew and his wife, Jennifer, and two granddaughters, Briley and Laurie. And Briley and Laurie like to come and help feed and look at cows and scoop feed in the buckets and play in the corn pile like a sand pile, so that works out pretty good. Andrew, the youngest son, is single.
So, Jon has two demanding professions that he really likes. But which one does he like the most?
I'll have to admit the truth. The farming, ranching is kind of my passion and always has been. Of course, I really do like the banking too, but the farming and ranching is kind of a relief. When I get home, I read a lot of farming magazines, and when we're getting ready to AI, I study a lot of bulls and AI catalog, the breed of the bulls. So I would have to say my hobby is the ranching side of it and the farming, and I really like that end of it. The banking I like too. It's a totally different side. You're doing stuff totally different. I'm managing different things. It's totally different. So it's kind of nice to have both, do both, and then have one you can come home and kind of say, hey, I can get away from everything and hop in the Kubota and go feed or go check cows. Whatever needs to be done in the evening, especially in the summer, I'll come home and we'll take off for an hour or two, and that's kind of relieves the stress of the banking world and dealing with all the things you go on with the compliance and everything now you have to deal with in the banking world and all the regulations, and where you can't, it's just different than it used to be when I come into the bank.
Being responsible for both a bank and a farm requires a lot of dedication. And Jon tells us that kind of dedication isn't necessarily something you're born with.
You learn as you grow up to work. And work ethic is one of the things that we see in our business, that sometimes we have a hard time finding people that have that work ethic, where if you're on a farm or a ranch, you're not going to survive that if you don't have a work ethic to get out here and get things done. So that has been, I think the farming side helps the bank side in the side of the work ethic and the hours you have to put in to make things successful, and know that you might have to stay and go the extra mile or two to get things done, where that is a more difficult thing to do. To get a lot of people want to work 9 to 5 and go home. Well, neither job is really a 9 to 5 job. You got to love it. You got to want to be out here in all kinds of weather and be able to take care of things. You got to enjoy your cows. You got to enjoy raising the cattle. You've got to enjoy what you're breeding to the cattle, to do this, to do that. That's what I really like, is the figuring out what bull to use on our registered cows and how to improve that cow and how to have a better calf by picking what's the better bull, I would hope. I enjoy that part of it the most. And so, it's just got to be in you. It's time to go to my next full-time job.
And that's a combination for success we all can aspire to.